Will the Senate please come to order? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Aquino. Senator Awa.
Here.
Senator Chang. Senator Ducatt.
Excused.
Senator Dela Cruz. Senator Elefante.
Here.
Senator Favela.
Excused.
Senator Fukunaga. Senator Gabbard. Senator Ihara.
Present.
Senator Inoue.
Present.
Senator Kanuha. Senator Keith Agaran. Senator Keoho Kalole. Senator Kidani. Senator Kim. Senator Lee. Senator McKelvey. Senator Moriwaki. Senator Rhodes. Senator Richards. Senator San Buenaventura. Senator Shimabukuro. Senator Wakai. Mr. President.
Present.
23 present, 2 excused.
Thank you. The chair has read the journal of the preceding day and approves the same. Are there any introductions this morning? Senator Kanuha.
Thank you, Mr. President. This morning, I am honored to introduce constituents of yours, Mr. President, from the island of Hawai'i. History Day winners from Island School Middle School. And of course, in the abundance of saying the majority of your names completely incorrect, may I please ask the 7th grade winners, 8th grade winners, and chaperones of Island School to please stand and be recognized. Mr. President, I do have their names in front of me. May I please have them inserted into the journal?
So ordered. Further introductions. Senator McKelvey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go ahead and introduce my staff who is here for the invitation with my office manager who loves me introducing her, Wendy Wilson. Please stand up. And of course, everybody will Favela, I'm butchering her name, who gave the moment of contemplation today. Thank you and welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Further introductions. If not, Madam Clerk.
Governor's message number 6 makes amendments to the governor's executive budget request for fiscal biennium 2023 to 2025.
File.
On page 2, House Communication number 799 returns Senate Bill 47 that passed 3rd reading in the House in an amended form.
File.
On pages 2 through 27, House Communication number 800 informs the Senate that the House has disagreed to the amendments proposed by the Senate to various House bills.
File.
On pages 27 to 29, Standing Committee Report numbers 1900 to 1902 for one-day notice.
So ordered.
And beginning on page 29, advise and consent.
If there are no objections from the members, we will be taking advice and consent on consent.
Standing Committee Report number 1892 on Governor's Message number 517, Tommy Johnson, gubernatorial nominee as the Director of the Department of Public Safety for adoption.
Is there any discussion? Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I rise in great enthusiasm in support of this nominee.
Please proceed.
Mr. President and colleagues, watching over criminals and straightening them out is a daunting task. Very few of us would want this job. Thank goodness we have Tommy Johnson, because he wants it, and he thrives in this environment. He's the right man to guide the department to successfully transition from the Department of Public Safety to the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. The agency is undergoing a paradigm shift under his guidance from a punitive model, lock 'em up and toss out the keys, to a more treatment and program-oriented approach. During his confirmation hearing, a couple of former inmates testified in favor of Mr. Johnson. They said he was strict, but he was always fair. This is the kind of leadership necessary to turn lives around. Tough love for tough dudes. In the past, inmates walked out of jail with no identification and had to reintegrate into society somehow on their own. A small but significant change was to provide inmates with proper documentation upon their release so they could apply for jobs and safety net programs. Small but significant. Mr. Johnson has his detractors. About 6 guards showed up at his confirmation hearing to talk about how they believed he was unfair and played favorites. For years, staffing and morale have been significant challenges at DPS. The correctional system has about 300 vacancies out of their 1,500 officer positions. The situation is aggravated by corrections officers who repeatedly fail to show up to work. This forces others to work longer shifts to cover absent staff. Guards complain about working 16 or even 24-hour shifts. In a few months on the job, Mr. Johnson has already increased recruitment hirings by 50% to address part of this issue. But the bigger issue is ACOs often out sick, on family leave, vacation. Many game the system, so they really only work 7 months out of the year and pocket loads of overtime pay. Last year, overtime cost taxpayers $34 million. Mr. Johnson has assembled a management team to address this lingering issue. If you benefited from the old way of getting more by doing less, you are not going to welcome Mr. Johnson's style. But the public deserves better, and he's delivering. Changing the work ethic in any environment is not easy. Mr. Johnson assured the PSM committee that he would reach out and build bridges with the union. And he met with those union leaders this past week to iron out those differences. They discussed several issues, including joint recruitment efforts and employee incentives for those who actually show up to work. I admire Mr. Johnson's willingness to make peace with his adversaries. His word is good. Tommy Johnson has been a Deputy Director of Corrections at the Department of Public Safety since 2017. He has more than 25 years of experience in corrections, 10 years in Hawaii, 15 years with the military. He understands corrections on many different levels. He's a graduate of the University of Hawaii at Manoa with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Under Mr. Johnson's stewardship, we can expect to see a number of improvements, including continued advancements in public safety initiatives, reduced recidivism, lowering of overtime costs, betterment of morale, improvements to correctional facilities across the state. Mr. Johnson's outstanding accomplishments, coupled with his unyielding dedication to the betterment of our community, make him a beacon of hope for a safer Hawaii. I encourage you, colleagues, to join me in voting in favor of Tommy Johnson's confirmation to be the Director of the Department of Public Safety.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Rhodes.
22 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. Tommy Johnson has been confirmed as the Director of the Department of Public Safety. Senator Wakai.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, I would like to introduce to you our newly minted Director of the Department of Public Safety, Tommy Johnson. Here to enjoy his crowning moment is his wife, Ronalyn Johnson, their daughters, Precious Leigh and Andrea, as well as his mother-in-law, Corazon Watson. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Standing Committee Report number 1893 on Governor's Message number 526, Katie Ducatt, gubernatorial nominee as the Deputy to the Chairperson of the Department of Hawaiian Homelands for adoption.
Is there any discussion? Senator Shimabukuro.
Thank you, Mr. President. In support.
Please proceed.
Your Committee on Hawaiian Affairs notes that during and after the hearing, Ms. Ducatt took the time to recognize and directly address the testimony in opposition to her nomination, displaying a strong willingness to listen to the concerns of all beneficiaries. Your committee finds that Ms. Ducatt, with her extensive legal background, deep understanding of real property law and Native Hawaiian issues, and core institutional knowledge gained through 8 years of dedicated service, possesses the requisite qualifications to serve as Deputy to the Chairperson of the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. Your committee believes that Ms. Ducatt's legal expertise and knowledge of the department is a tremendous asset that will help Ms. Ducatt carry out her expressed intent to implement formal training, internal policies, and workflows to minimize gaps in current processes to ultimately help reduce the number of beneficiaries on the waiting list. Your committee believes that Ms. Ducatt, with a reputation as a trustworthy, highly organized, and detail-oriented public servant, will greatly complement Chairperson Watson as he seeks to take immediate action on the 20 projects identified in the strategic plan approved by the Hawaiian Homelands Commission. And therefore, your Hawaiian Affairs Committee recommends that Katie Ducatt be appointed as the deputy to the chairperson of the Department of Hawaiian Homelands based on her knowledge, experience, and commitment to public service. Mahalo.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
23 ayes.
Thank you. Katie Ducatt has been confirmed as the deputy to the chairperson of the Department of Hawaiian Homeland. Senator Shimabukuro.
Thank you, colleagues. I'd like to introduce our new deputy chair to DHHL, Katie Ducatt. Please stand to be recognized. Congratulations. And Ms. Ducatt is joined by, if you can stand when I call your name, her husband, Dennis Ducatt, son, Holokai Ducatt, parents, John and Gayanne Lambert, her aunt, Linda Rosehill, brothers, Mike Lambert, Nohea Westcoat, and Arie Lambert, and the hardworking and dedicated staff of the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. Could you all please stand to be recognized?
Madam Clerk.
Standing Committee Report numbers 1894 to 1898 on various governor's messages for adoption.
Before considering the reports, I want Mr. Brian Lee to know that there is no trouble with his nomination, but there are members who would like the opportunity to meet with him before casting the vote. The Land Use Commission is certainly an important position. So if there are no objections, I'm going to ask that Standing Committee Report 1895, Governor's Message 535, and 536 be deferred till Monday until we figure out how to get the meetings scheduled and the members an opportunity to talk to him. Hearing no objections, so ordered. So if we can proceed with 1894, 1896, 97, 98, is there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none. Or do we have unanimous consent? Are there any reservations? Any no votes?
23 ayes.
Thank you. The nominees for the respective governor's messages have been confirmed.
On page 31, Standing Committee Report number 1899 on Governor's Message number 608, Michelle L. Druyer, gubernatorial appointee to the Circuit Court of the Second Circuit for adoption.
Is there any discussion? Senator Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of Governor's Message number 608.
Please proceed.
Michelle Druyer has been licensed to practice law in the state of Hawaii since 1991. She started her legal career on Maui as a deputy prosecuting attorney for 5 years, followed by 2 years as a deputy public defender. She has since spent more than 20 years in private practice handling criminal and civil litigation. She was a named partner in the firm Rankin & Druyer, LLC, and later served in her own solo practice. Judge Druyer additionally has experience as a per diem judge in the family and district courts for the Second Circuit. She has presided over various calendars and cases, including child protective services, criminal justice, juvenile matters, family court, drug court, adoptions, guardianships, temporary restraining orders, and protective orders, divorce, and landlord-tenant issues as well. She has also traveled around the circuit as a per diem judge, including sitting on Molokai and Lanai. Judge Druyer received her Bachelor of Arts degree from Western Michigan University in 1986 and her Juris Doctor degree from Thomas M. Cooley Law School in Lansing, Michigan in 1991. After having reviewed the testimony, which was overwhelmingly in support of her confirmation, and other materials submitted to the committee, and having examined the appointee in a hearing, your Judiciary Committee finds that Michelle L. Druyer is qualified to serve as a Circuit Court Judge of the Second Circuit and recommends that the Senate consent to the appointment. Mahalo.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
23 ayes.
Thank you. Michelle L. Druyer has been confirmed as judge for the Circuit Court of the Second Circuit. Senator Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm pleased to introduce Maui's newest Circuit Court Judge, Michelle Druyer. Judge, please stand and be recognized. Joining Judge Drew in the gallery are the following. Please stand and be recognized as well. Her partner, Joel Katz. Friends and colleagues include Wendy Hudson, Amber Alexander, Per Diem Judge Lance Collins, Per Diem Judge Lauren Akitake, and Jason Watts. The judge would also like to acknowledge friends and family in Michigan, Arizona, California, and her Maui ohana. I would also like to point out that Administrator of the Courts, Miley, is here, if you could stand, and Chief Justice Rechtenwald as well. I'd also like to give a shout out to my two staff attorneys, Dave Nagaji and Jessica Faig, who are accompanying the nominee. Mr. President, could I continue speaking on a point of personal privilege related to this matter?
Please proceed.
Thank you. Members, I would like to share the following about the composition of our state judges and justices. With this confirmation, the Maui Circuit Court achieves gender parity with 2 female and 2 male judges. The number of state court judges and justices overall will also be equally split, with 40 sitting female judges and justices and 40 sitting male judges and justices. Should the governor's recent appointment of Kimberly Tsumoto Guidry to the Intermediate Court of Appeals also be confirmed by the Senate, it would be the first time in Hawaii history that more than 50% of sitting judges and justices are female. Mahalo.
Thank you, Senator Rhodes. Madam Clerk?
Referrals and re-referrals.
Referrals and re-referrals are made in accordance with the order of the day and the supplemental orders of the day that may be filed later today.
No further business, Mr. President.
Are there any announcements today? Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to remind everyone today is Art at the Capitol, and just give a big thank you to our agencies, chief clerks, sergeants, and others for helping to coordinate with DAGS and the State Foundation on this. The one thing different this year is there will be food out in the rotunda, thanks to DAGS. So hopefully it's a new trend of actually bringing people in and giving folks opportunity to partake. So with that, mahalo also to everyone who's opening their offices up, and mahalo to you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work in helping coordinate on behalf of the Senate, Senator Lee. Any further announcements? If not, the chair has one. For the duration of the 2023 conference period, conferees will be named and revised in accordance with the action sheet reports on the Capitol website, and said actions will be reflected in the journal. Senator Wakai.
Let me try that again. Happy weekend. I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 11:30 a.m. on Monday, April 17th.
Senator Kanuha.
I second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded. If there are no objections from the members, the Senate will stand adjourned until 11:30 a.m. Monday.